All right, folks, welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I am joined with Susan Bradford, who's going to give us some intel information that we all need to know about the petrodollar, about BRICS, what's happening financially. Should we be worried or not? And I've got some articles to pull up here. It looks like they're taking us straight into the digital currency. At least that's how they're trying to maneuver everything. Susan, thank you for joining me.
Hi, David. Thank you so much for having me.
You know, I can't help but think that we're so close with, World War III escalating, everything that's happening in politics right now, geopolitically, the whole thing. It's like we are on the cusp of something, and it looks like they want to do this great reset and have everybody on universal, some kind of a socialized system. It looks like it's happening, and a lot of people are worried about things, and I'm worried too. I'll be honest with you, I'm a bit worried about where this is going. Now, I'm hoping that Trump gets in, things get fixed, we go back to a gold-backed system. But you're saying not so fast, right?
I mean, I don't know where Trump would want to take this. I mean, it would be great if he could take it back to like a gold-backed system and maybe even have printing money restored to Congress as it was, originally intended, not the Federal Reserve. I probably won't happen, but I really don't know what he has in store for us. I would hope so, but
We all hope for the best. Well, first of all, folks, just in case, get your gold and silver. You can never go wrong with gold and silver. That's all I'm saying.
I agree
Gold
with
has
that.
gone up more than 81% in the last 5 years. It is happening. Central banks are ditching the dollar and U.S. treasuries and buying more gold. The good news, it is predicted to go up even more. UBS even said it would go up to 5,000. Noble Gold Investments' phone has been ringing off the hook. Everyone wants to protect their retirement with gold. You can do the same. And if you do it this month, folks, Noble Gold Investments will give you a free 1/4 ounce gold standard coin if you open a qualified account. So go to Noble Gold Investments, noblegoldinvestments.com now and get started, folks, because that's what this whole podcast is going to be about. So a lot of people are hoping for the best. They're saying, oh, well, we're going to go to this gold-backed system, and there's been a lot of gold confiscated allegedly.
Mhm.
And I have no proof to validate that. I've heard from many people that that's what's happened, but I can't confirm it. I don't know, and that's why I keep bringing people like you on to set the record straight. You're very well researched. You're very well read. You write your own books. Have the floor. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. And I think a lot of the gold has been confiscated, like during World War One, World War Two, and so forth. It's been moved around. But I'd like to kind of provide a little bit of background on the. Should we start with the petrodollar now, or go through the history of it? Where would you like to start?
If you want to start with the history of it, just do a clean little brisk walk
Uh,
through it, and then we can get to where we at with the
okay,
Saudi
sounds good.
pullback from the landmark U.S. deal would be bad news for dollar dominance.
Okay, I disagree with that. Not that I'm an
Okay.
economist, but I'm going to cite the people who created BRICS and who created this. Okay, so very briefly, the petrodollar was created during the Nixon administration. It was intended, so we have JFK originally signed us onto the USAID, and the USAID committed us to developing over 100 countries around the world, so we, the taxpayers. So during the Nixon administration, with Kissinger's guidance, they launched the petrodollar. So what that meant is unlimited spending of money backed by by the Saudi oil well. And that worked for as long as they had unlimited Saudi oil that was cheap to produce. So the Saudis were the world development partner of the World Bank. So what that would mean is the World Bank would set the price of oil. So imagine that if you wanted to establish a global dominance on commerce, you would send money to USAID, for example. You develop a monopoly in a specific country. That country, with our money, would develop a good. Since the oil was very cheap, as determined by the World Bank, they could have that item shipped anywhere around the world. We're footing the bill for it. And essentially, you're having the world developed on behalf of the United States, where you have the syndicate working through the United States, and it's developing the world, establishing a global monopoly on commerce with our money. Now that works for as long as petrol is cheap. But what happens when you overproduce the wells? And that's exactly what happened. The oil fields were overproduced in the 1970s. What that meant was that the petrodollar was on borrowed time. And so they needed to find an alternative. And that came to a head in the late 1990s during the end of the Clinton administration.
So where are we at right now with everything it's all come to a head, and June 9th supposedly was the end of the petrodollar with Saudi Arabia. So I'm under the impression that, this is going to be really, really bad. The contract is ended. They're not renewing it. Where are we at now? Where does this lead us going forward?
Okay, you notice that the sky did not fall. There was a lot of fear mongering around this, and I think people were afraid. Okay,
It was almost like another Y2K event. Like people are like, oh,
correct.
9th, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Like all the computers are going to crash, the energy infrastructure, everything's going to crash. And that didn't happen. And the truth is that the dollar is the most widely used currency around the world. We're not going to be using rubles or yuan anytime soon. So what is happening is that since the oil wells were overproduced, there's no longer any petro to back the petrodollar. And so they want to move us they want to continue to develop the world, and that's why they have BRICS. So BRICS is that was started at the end of the it was 2001
When
for
you say they got BRICS, when you say they have BRICS, are you saying the same controlling structure that controls the dollar, Federal Reserve? Are they also controlling BRICS? I'm kind of
yes, they
confused.
do. So
They're just switching. That's just the left wing and the right wing of the same bird. Are you saying that it's the same hand? Obviously, and we all know this, the same hand controlling both, right?
you have to ask, right?
Yeah, I mean, so maybe for some of my audience out there, I don't know.
Yeah, your audience, you have a smart audience. I think it was actually BRICS was invented by Jim O'Neill. He is a leading banker for the City of London, Goldman Sachs. And so you have the same agenda, City of London, where they're trying to figure out how they're going to get all the money into their own hands.
But I thought BRICS was a gold-backed system.
Um,
It's
I don't
not a
think
black oil. It's gold. That's what I was under the impression.
Okay, it might be going in that direction. Now this is according to Jim O'Neill. He was saying, okay, they want to use it to develop the world, to develop the third world. And so they need to have like a new system to do that. It's going to be more China focused, China centered with Russia. Saudi Arabia has joined it, but he was saying that they don't even get along with each other. They're always fighting. There's no prospect for a central bank. This is a way for them to just kind of circumvent the dollar. So Americans, they'll get upset over human rights, or they might try to impose sanctions on Russia or China, for example, and they can just say, okay, well, we'll have our own oil-backed currency, or we'll have our own currency and go around that. But at the same time, we're investing in Saudi Arabia, we're investing in these foreign countries, and these foreign countries are forming their own common market. So it's basically a new common market to develop the world. But the dollar it might be on a slow decline, but we're not going to see any major collapse anytime soon.
So, but what about the central banking system? Like, are they controlling BRICS? Is that what I'm on?
Yes.
I'm trying to understand this. Like, are
Okay,
are they
yes.
creating these wars out of proxy, and they're still controlling both sides of the game here?
They are. So for example, we give money to Russia, and we give money to USAID and to the IMF. Russia takes our money and gives it to the USAID and to IMF. They are now saying in the war on Ukraine,
But
they
hold
want to take
on,
some of the
my
money
audience
back.
is going to say, I thought we were giving money to Ukraine.
We're giving money to Ukraine, but we're also kind of giving money, like if you follow how they're moving money around, it's all like through one big
Like a shell game type thing, like a big.
global structure. It's going through one big sorry, I had my phone just rang. Sorry about that.
Okay.
It's going through one big global kind of money laundering system. Um, and so I just got me a little off track with the phone call. So we have both sides are kind of funding the war in Ukraine, and I think it's being done as they all do to like they want to destroy the country and then they can rebuild it, and they have the contracts to do that, and then they're going to rebuild it with a new AI system, and then establish their own monopolies, and then also
Smart
see
cities.
the
Everyone
resources.
has smart cities and things like that.
Correct.
Green energy, green, to go that whole new direction. I remember when I was in Prague many years ago, long time
Beautiful
ago.
city.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I remember though, there was a building that I saw, a brick building that had a figure eight, which meant infinity, on its side. And on the eight, it had tanks, and then on the other side of the eight, it had bulldozers, or like, so it was like, it meant to me destroy and rebuild, destroy and rebuild, and it was an infinite thing. And I looked at that and I was like, that says it all to me right there. So I guess destroy the old system, rebuild the new. So what you're saying is, what I'm getting from this is they're in charge of the BRICS, and the central banking system is in charge of BRICS and NATO, the Federal Reserve, the whole thing, right? They're in charge. They're not letting go any power, because I'm under the impression that we're breaking free from this. We're going into a new system once Trump gets in. It's gonna, and a lot of people talk about 𝗬𝗎, I don't really buy into that, but I thought we were gonna at least go back to a gold back note. You're saying we're not gonna even do that? I mean, do you even know?
Um, Now, I did hear, like, this was during the Trump administration. They're trying to go to like a gold-backed cryptocurrency. The problem I would have with that is that this is going to be a new global system. So you have the global planners in control of the new global system, and they also control not only the gold, but they also control the price of gold through their own exchanges. So that still gives them control over the financial system, even though
What about
gold.
I mean, and these are just rumors. What about these rumors I've heard that we've confiscated Vatican gold, and we've flown 600 some flights here filled with gold, and we have all the gold. We're going back to a gold backed system. That, if that is true, then we could be going back. Would we join BRICS? Would we? Because I've also heard from other people that the dollar is going to be the strongest it's ever been after all this.
I
They're
think
like,
that
just hold your, get your gold, get your silver, but the dollar will be the strongest once we bounce back from all this. I don't
I
know.
think that's a possibility because these BRICS countries, they don't really have the assets that we do. The dollar is like the dominating currency. We are the most stable country in the world. It's where all the countries in the world prefer to park their money, because we have we still have a system of law and order. And these other countries are not. They're trying to kind of rapidly develop, but they're not really in a position to do so. And so we're finding these, like these ghost cities in China where it appears that they have, they've developed really quickly, but it's all a facade. And so I don't think that they are going to be as prosperous, but I do worry about this new AI, because that gives them, I guess, a global control. From
Yeah. Well, which really the true war here in all of this is humanity versus AI, and people don't
correct.
even know it. They really don't even understand this. When I talk to people like Juan and other guests, they're like, the humanity does not understand this is not just a fight for our country, but this is really the fight for humanity. This is for all the marbles. Like, whatever direction this goes in 24 is either going to be AI or humanity. And it's going to be us controlling AI or AI controlling us by a few elites, from what I understand, controlling the whole system. Like, this is really what it's all about, coming down to it. Would you agree with that?
That's absolutely correct. And I think the AI is being pushed because of the petrodollar. So they were deciding, okay, we can't have we want to develop the world with Saudi oil. We don't have enough oil, so we're going to keep people, locked at home, and we'll monitor them, and then we can monetize everything that they do, like all of the energy expenditures. We can have them like talk as we are via Zoom, not go to the office. We can down all the planes. We can have people won't own cars. We'll have these self-driving cars. So they wanted to like deindustrialize us. Even like one of their recommendations was eat food closer to home, and they've applied that as eat bugs. And you may have noticed that there's a Walmart within like really 5 miles of every house of most of the residences. They want to get it to such a position where we will order everything from home and have that shipped to us from through drone. So it's a way of them of reordering the system under their own control. And I think we need to expose the corruption and the fraud so that we, the people, can take it back. Like the new system, there might be a lot of great technology, but it has to be used to serve the people.
Right.
Not serve
And
them.
then everyone will be under a social credit score system in which
Cor-
if they don't like what you're doing, they just turn off your bank account, turn off your house, turn off your smart meter, turn off your, this is allegedly, folks. I have to say it that way. I'm fluffed too,
Right.
but there's a lot of things that I've heard that could happen. Like you have a self-driving car, well, they just turn it off. You have an electric car, well, they just a cop wants to give you a traffic ticket, they just turn your car off. You have to and you pull over on the side and your car's off. They have full control of your vehicle. I've heard of all kinds of things that are coming in with this system, so it's scary to me.
And
Um,
think also about
so
these
I think that's
apps.
what this going into this election, what this is what it's all about to me. But or am I wrong? Is Trump going to be the same, just the right side of the bird versus the left side of the same bird?
I know that your audience is very much in Trump's camp. I don't want to, I don't want to
Yeah, but I
offend
bring it all
anyone.
here, man.
Well, I think that Trump is part of the same system. I think he may want to be, independent, and he want to serve the people. But the fact is, we have like a corporation kind of operating as a representative government. So as an employee of that corporation, he will necessarily have to serve that corporation.
Well, I've heard that he's going to ruin that system and bring in the republic. So that's what I've heard.
Okay.
Now, do I know for a fact? I don't know anything for a fact, folks. People listen to my guests. I have many guests on. They say different things, so I've heard different things. But what about blockchain? What about crypto? A lot of people, a lot of my guests come on here and they talk about crypto. They love Bitcoin. They love XRP. They say that's the future. What's your thoughts on all that?
I think that the cryptocurrency came from Asia. That was when Obama was launching the TPP. He was trying to realign the center of commerce, center of power over to Asia. So the cryptocurrency came from Japan, and I think they wanted to use that as a replacement for the petrodollar. So instead of like mining oil, like having the dollar based on oil, you'd have it based upon like mining some type of computer energy. And I think that is open to fraud because the price of that crypto, I think, is determined by a handful of people in a room. So they can pull everybody in, raise the price. You can become a billionaire overnight, and then you might lose it, and you'd be the last person to get out. I think it's where a lot of these elites want to take it. Like I've heard them talk about like this is going to be our new legacy currency. We'll become billionaires, buy up all the property. But it is controlled by the same people, the same network, including Rothschild. And so I think it's leading us into a new trap.
I've been paying attention a lot to like what's happening with the Rothschilds, and I see them selling a lot of their estate, personal items. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think maybe they're in trouble? Why would they need to sell anything? So that, I'm just posing these questions that pop in my mind, but why would they need to even get rid of anything? I mean, to me, they own everything. They own everything. They own all the gold. Why would they have to sell anything?
Yeah, that's a good point because they should be trillionaires. They have all the money in the
Yeah,
world.
I
Why would
mean,
they
they
need
shouldn't
to?
even care to sell anything.
And why would they sell it? It could be that they are under some type of a challenge by or there could be a changing of the guard, I would think. Or
That's what I'm getting at
mm,
here. I'm just saying there's a lot of evidence pointing to that.
mm.
Are you open to the fact that maybe, just maybe, we could go into, because when Trump says if he wins the election, if he wins the election, he says drill, baby, drill. They're going to go right back to drilling here in the States, pull up as much oil as possible. And to me, the economy is going to be booming if that happens.
That
Wouldn't
would be
that change the
wonderful.
game on everything? Wouldn't that strengthen the dollar? And especially if he takes us back to a gold-backed dollar, I mean, to me, that would, and then we can call the shots again. Then that would make sense that the dollar would be at its strongest. Am I right in saying that, or am I completely off?
I think you are potentially right, but then I'm also seeing that we're giving a lot of our oil to China. I don't know why we're giving it to our strategic adversaries. And Trump also gave our largest oil processing plant to Saudi Arabia. in Texas,
Okay.
or not. So I don't know why he did that. That's going to ensure that all of our oil is processed through the Saudis when we could be doing it ourselves. It puts us at a disadvantage.
I was driving through Fort Stockton, Texas, and I remember when Trump was in office, it was booming. It was just ballistic. It was just going, it was just booming with business. And then I just drove through there recently, and it's just crickets. So I can see the difference in the economy from Trump to Biden. So I mean, at least in the oil area, but I see.
Good point.
So let me ask you this: what's your view on this war with, um, Ukraine? The whole world is heating up right now. That all has to do with currency at the bottom line of all of this, correct? Who's gonna run?
Um,
Who's gonna own the currency? Who's gonna run the currency? Is it gonna be BRICS against NATO, NATO versus BRICS? Am I right in saying that, or you correct me? I don't know.
yeah, that's a good question. I don't really see BRICS as being a big player in all of this. And the reason I say that is Jim O'Neill, who founded BRICS, he was saying that it's just a way for them to develop the third world. And it isn't as powerful and people think they're not going to have a central bank anytime soon. They can't get along with each other. And he's even
But I
predicting
thought
that
the
the
central bank
dollar.
was controlling all of it, all sides of this.
But like having their own central bank, like where it's going to be like a powerful competitor to us. So, just based upon him, what he's saying, and that's from the horse's mouth. I would say it really isn't a problem. I think that they're trying to move money around the world. I think they've stolen so much of it, and I think maybe they're trying to take money out of our economy, and maybe it's going to oligarchs in the Ukraine, possibly. So and also O'Neill was talking about how he said that the stimulus is like the greatest change maker because there's a multiplier effect. So you take all the money and you give it, you send it out, and then that in turn generates a lot more business, but it's helping the elite buy more and establish more of a monopoly, I think.
So what do you
So
suggest people to do in these times? I mean, everything's just kind of muddy right now. No one really knows what to do. The contract with Saudi Arabia has not been renewed. And if I pull up articles, like I'm going to share an article really fast here. It says here, the U.S. deal would be bad news for the dollar dominance. Leaders from China and Russia boasted that trade between the isolate Russia for invading you. But it says here, okay, Saudi Arabia is moving away from the U.S. dollar in the oil trade, and it looks at alternative markets. The end of long-standing petrodollar agreement would dent dollar dominance. The Atlantic Council wrote the move would be a sign that Saudi Arabia is instead seeking to diversify its trade. But like you said, June 9th came and went, and
there's
are we
nothing.
going to start feeling the after effects of it, the aftershocks of this, like in the coming months? Is that how this is going to work?
I don't think you'll be feeling much of it. I mean, I think the problem is really with inflation, that our government is just spending our money like water, but the dollar is still the most widely used currency around the world. So I don't think you're going to see any sharp effect from this. This is just like an ordinary transition. It doesn't make sense to continue it because there is no petrodollar upon which to base this. And I remember like right before right before the last administration, before the pandemic, that Saudi Arabia was ready to, it has this, sovereign funds buying up assets. It was ready, like when the market was about to crash, when there was going to be permanent lockdown, they were ready to kind of buy up everything, like buy up all of our assets. And to me, that's a standard Rothschild move where, you want to crash the economy, you're holding all the wealth, and then you buy up everything when the market is down. So I think like the
But look what it
Saudis have
says
any
right
power.
here. It says fake news alert.
Mhm.
This is Google. Saudi Arabia is not going to stop selling oil in US dollars, and they're
Mhm.
not ending any petrodollar pact. In fact, there's no petrodollar pact, secret or otherwise. There's nothing to renew or not renew, nor is there any paradigm shift in global finance. What the hell is this?
Okay, so it ended. They're trying to scale back the use of oil. They're doing that through AI. Like they're going to impose it upon us whether we want to or not. And then they're looking for other ways to build, to drill for oil. They're having us redirect our oil to China. They're doing fracking, and then they're doing AI.
50-year run.
You want to listen to this real quick and see what he has
Oh,
to say?
sure, go ahead.
The agreement between the United States and Saudi Arabia to export oil exclusively in U.S. dollars has officially ended on June 9th, 2024.
Just this Sunday, one of the biggest economic deals of the century just came to an end. Just expired on June 9th, 2024.
First breaking news of the day. On June 9th,
all three of those guys are spreading misinformation. None of that is true, and none of them actually took the time to validate their sources. Petrodollar agreement never expired on June 9th because it never had an expiration date, and no government official said that. It's all made up. The reason this is going viral is because yesterday on X, an account called 𝗏𝗃𝗃 News with 440,000 followers made a tweet stating, Saudi Arabia's 50-year-old petrodollar agreement with the United States has expired with no new agreement in place. That tweet got 6.9 million views, which led to bloggers writing about it, small news outlets reporting on it, and content creators on YouTube making videos about it.
5 years now. But just this Sunday, the Prince of Saudi Arabia announced that he would not renew this contract.
That's just straight up misinformation. He never said that. He never talked about renewing anything. All of these creators are citing the same news outlet that doesn't cite any of its sources that other news outlets are now reporting.
What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like they're moving kind of away from the petrodollar, because I think since like late 1990s, like the Saudis brought it was through the gas initiative, they brought all the oil companies over.
But my question is, did they or didn't they? I mean, did they end the contract or did they not? I heard they
think,
did. I heard from very credible sources they did. So
I think that they did. I think it's like a phase out. Like it's no longer necessarily pegged, but they could also sell their oil in Chinese dollar, yuan, or rubles and other things. So it's not like there's not this petrodollar that is going to be used to develop the whole world. It's
in other
no longer
words, they're
that
selling it in
currency.
different. Yeah, and I heard Japan right now is getting hit with a financial tsunami as well.
They could. I haven't been following Japan, so I can't really comment on that specifically.
Juanito, the guy I bring on my show all the time, Juan, he was spent some time in Japan. He said, what is it, the yen in Japan?
Yen,
Yeah. So it's supposedly devaluing, and if that happens, then if they catch a cold, America gets sick. I've heard all these different things. There's a lot of rumors and stuff flying around right now. I'm just trying to make sense of all of it, and that's why I bring people like you on. And hopefully my audience gets something out of this. I'm not a financial expert, folks. I don't know jack about this stuff. Okay. I just bring on the guests that hopefully help me and you figure it out. So, but I do know one thing, there's a problem, and there's an economic problem. We all feel it. And that being said, there's something wrong. And I'm just trying to figure out what it is. And I do believe, in my mind, from what I can see happening here, they are moving away to the dollar, to the digital dollar. Now, how they're doing that, I think this great reset is where they're pushing everything.
Then you have to ask, why are they pushing everything? And they're pushing everything because there's no oil to back up the petrodollar, and they're doing this big shell game where they're moving money and oil all around the world. So they're trying to keep everything propped up, but they're trying to move everything into AI so that they'll have less oil used in all these transactions and global supply chains. And I think what we do is we need to demand transparency with regards to this petrodollar, to figure out, and we know how we got here, but we need to have an acknowledgement from the government on how we got here. And then we could figure out, okay, well, we don't want the people who created the problem then to provide the solution. I think that needs to come back to we the people and what makes the most sense for how we want our government to be run, especially our financial system.
Susan, where's your book, and where can people find your book? You have your book on you?
I don't have it on me. I should have, but I don't have it on me. It's the Saudi swindle, and I actually talk about the background of the Saudi dollar, and the global money laundering. I put it within this wider context. And you can find that book through my website, which is susanbradford.org, and also you can link to my Substack there as well.
Okay, Susan, do me a favor, text me your website. I'll put it under the video.
Okay, will
Folks,
do.
I say get gold, okay? I'm just get to Noble Gold and get your gold, and get her book, The Saudi Swindle. Susan, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, David. I'll talk to you soon.
God bless you.
God bless you.